Welcome back to the Silver Lining, where it's no filler, no fluff, but we keeps it a buck. And today I'm going to be talking about everyone's favorite topic, the Grammys. Oh, yes, the Grammys, that beautiful time of year where everyone says the Grammys are trash and the Grammys don't matter. But we watch it every year and then we complain about it every year. So, yes, it's that time of year. It's the Grammys. The nominations recently came out. I'm actually not going to be talking about the nominations this year. I'm going to do that in a different video. Today, I'm just going to be talking about the Grammys in general. I'm going to be talking about, can the Grammys be fixed? Is there anything we can do to lower the temperature and how angry people get about the Grammys every single year? Is that possible? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. Um, Last year was exceptionally interesting because of what Jay-Z said during his acceptance speech. And, whether you liked or didn't like what Jay Z said, one thing is for sure, him doing that does prove one simple thing: the Grammys do matter. People care about it, artists care about it, fans care about it. That's just the way it is. People care about the Grammys. No matter what you say about the Grammys is still music's biggest accomplishment. Just being nominated for a Grammy is an incredible accomplishment. But when you actually win one, it's an amazing accomplishment. It is still music's biggest honor. And yeah, man, the Grammys definitely still matter. There's no doubt about it. So the big question is, why are people pissed every single year? Well, when it comes down to it, if you're a fan of an artist, you want them to win. It's music's biggest night. You want your favorite artist to win. I'm not going to sit here and lie. Nas is my favorite rapper, but the fact that he only recently won his first Grammy, it did annoy me. It did annoy me because I'm a big fan of his. And look, on the surface, there are things about the Grammys that just simply don't make sense. I mean, look, obviously the face of this conversation is going to be Beyonce. Beyonce is a music icon, and up until this point, she still has not won the album of the year. In fact, she only has one win in the general category. When I'm talking about the general category, we're talking about song of the year, record of the year, and album of the year. She only has one. I believe it was for record or song of the year. I forget. Um, so on the surface, that doesn't make sense. And look, there are others that don't make sense. Did you know that Queen never won a Grammy? I mean, the anthems that Queen made in their career, I mean, these are songs that you still hear today. None of them records won a Grammy. Um, they had four nominations, but never actually won one. Snoop Dogg has never won a Grammy. I think he's had 16 nominations, no Grammys. Neither Tupac or Biggie won a Grammy. Now, with that one, you could say that although they both passed in their primes, so had they lived, they probably would have won one later. But the fact still remains, they neither one of them won a Grammy. Diana Ross did not win a Grammy, 13 nominations. Morrissey, no Grammys, only one nomination. Bjork, 16 nominations, no Grammys. Nicki Minaj, 12 nominations, no Grammys. Even Led Zeppelin never won a Grammy, only had a few nominations. So when you hear that list, you're gonna say that just doesn't make sense when you think about the impact that those artists had. What I would say though is that I think that we have to like go back and look to see what else was nominated in those years where they had big songs. Especially with like Beyonce. Like, I mean, a lot of Beyonce's like big songs did come out at a time when music where like music was really hot. So like I do plan to do a different video where I'm gonna go through every single time where she was nominated in a general field and see what else was nominated and see if the Grammys got it wrong or not. I imagine there's gonna be some where they did, and it's probably gonna be some where they didn't because like music was popping when Beyonce's prime was. You know what I'm saying? So I do think that's important to like try to look back and try to see why these artists didn't win Grammys. Now look, I'm not here to defend the Grammys. I'm sure there's gonna be plenty of instances where it's gonna be like, what, like, where they got it completely wrong. But I do think it's important to try to just kind of go back and see exactly what was going on in music before we just throw the hammer down and say the Grammys are racist or anything like that. I'm not saying there's no racial component to it. I think there's gonna be a racial component in most things. But I don't know when you look at those names I said, I don't know if I can say with certainty that race is the big reason why some of these things hasn't worked. I am going to go later when we talk about the racial component to the Grammys, but I don't necessarily think that that's the main thing here. I think there's some other things in play. I think that the other things that are nominated probably makes a big difference here. Now, when it comes to the Grammys history with hip hop, I think that's where there's a lot of anger there, and there should be. Let's just say there are some years where they haven't exactly gotten it right. Now, look, I will say I do think in the recent years they've done a better job. I think we've seen better nominations for like the hip hop awards, the best rap album, best rap song. I think they've definitely gotten a lot better with it. But I mean, last year, Killer Mike won rap album of the year. I thought that was pretty cool. But even with that, the fact that they don't televise the rap categories is absolutely insane. There's no excuse for it. I mean, rap has been a juggernaut in music for quite some time now. So the idea that we wouldn't televise the best, at least the best rap album, is insanity to me. I think that's crazy. There's no excuse for it, and that simply has to change. The other thing when it comes to hip hop, as of now, there has never been a hip hop album take home the big one, which is album of the year. We've never seen a rap album win album of the year. And now Speaker Box Love Below by Outkast did win album of the year. But look, that album wasn't a pure hip hop album. I mean, Big Boy's side of it was, but Andre's side was more of that, experimental stuff that Andre 3000 was doing at the time. And if we're being real, his side of it is really why it won album of the year, if we're being real. Because it was so what Andre did on that album was so different and so influential. I think that that's why that album won album of the year. It wasn't necessarily because it was a pure Outcast album, right? Like if Stankonia had won, I would say that counts because Stankonia was a pure Outcast hip hop album that didn't win album of the year. This one did. So we're talking about a pure hip hop album. We've never seen a pure hip hop album win album of the year. And listen, I believe that there are hip hop albums that have come out that were worthy of the award. Most recently, I would say Good Kid, Mad City by Kendrick Lamar was very much worthy of that award. Again, though, I'd have to go back to see when it was nominated what actually won because that matters. When we look back at Eminem on the Marshall Mathers LP, when that album lost, I'll never forget that night. It lost to Steely Dan. Now, let me say this: at the time when that happened, I was mad. I was mad that Eminem didn't get that. But if we're being real, looking at it in hindsight, I do understand why the Grammys didn't want to give that album that album of the year. I mean, you think about the stuff that Eminem was doing on that album. I mean, come on, like a lot of that stuff don't age very well. And I mean, is that really what we want to call the album of the year? I don't think so. I think Good Kid, Mad City has a higher claim just because Good Kid, Mad City was just a phenomenal album. It's gonna age like wine. He's telling a story throughout the album. That album I think was worthy of the award for sure. And there's been other ones. There's been other hip hop albums that I think were worthy of album of the year. But as of now, no hip hop album has got album of the year, and I think that's a problem. I think that's a problem. I think it's a problem, and I think that it's something the Grammys are going to have to address. Going to have to take a look at it. Um, but at the same time, we got to put out music that's worthy of the award. And I think we have. We got to keep doing that as well. We got to keep doing it. Now, there is a racial component that cannot be ignored. Since 1957, only 11 black artists have come home with the Album of the Year award. Uh, 3 times Stevie Wonder actually got it. So technically, it's been 13 times where a black artist won Album of the Year. Stevie Wonder just ran 3 of them joints. Um, Definitely doesn't feel like it's enough. You can look at it a couple ways though. The fact that Stevie Wonder was able to take it 3 times, I mean, that definitely says something. I mean, prior to Taylor Swift breaking the record recently, Stevie Wonder was only one of 3 artists that took home the album of the year 3 times. So it's interesting dynamic there. Now, there's only been 3 women to take home the album of the year award. Lauryn Hill being the last person to do it in 1999. Definitely doesn't feel like enough. I thought SZA had a decent shot last year because I thought her album was incredible, but she went against a buzzsaw because Taylor Swift dropped an incredible album with Midnight's as well. So, um, yeah, definitely doesn't feel like enough. That component of the Grammys cannot be ignored. It's something that I don't know. It just doesn't. When you look at those numbers, it just doesn't feel right. But I, again, as I've kind of said a couple of times, you kind of have to look back to see what was nominated when the best stuff was out, because sometimes something else is just popping at the time. You can drop your best work at a time where something else comes out that was just a little bit bigger, a little bit more critically acclaimed, and that's just kind of how it goes. But yeah, like when you look at the numbers, it just doesn't feel like enough at all. It just doesn't. And look, I could go on for on and on about why people hate the Grammys, but I kind of want to get to kind of the point of this video as far as what can we do to help the process? What can we do to turn the temperature down? And I think the main thing that has to happen is transparency. I think that we have to know, who is making the decisions and how they come to the decisions. When you look it up to find out like who's making the decisions, it just says that the committee it has music creators, including artists, producers, songwriters, and engineers. But I mean, like, who are they, and like, how do they come to the decision? I mean, maybe they do list who the people are, but I think what also has to happen. Number one, before we get to that, number one, when you're talking about the general fields, you have to find some people who are very well versed in music that listen to a lot of different music. Now, it's going to be hard to find someone who's not biased. Like if you had me on the committee, I listen to a lot of different music, but I'm going to have a slight bias to hip hop because hip hop is my love. Hip hop is my first love. So I'm going to have a slight bias to hip hop, but I listen to a lot of different music as well. So I will be able to really like listen to different albums, and I would be able, if someone else were to tell me that an album that I didn't think was album of the year was album of the year, I would be able to sit down and have a conversation and kind of we can go back and forth and chop it up about it because I would have like, okay, I did like this album, but and I could go back and forth when I think that's what the committee has to have. You got to have a lot of people who are well versed in music and people who have the ability to be objective because like I give you an example, right? I listened to Dua Lipa's album when she was nominated, Future Nostalgia. I listened to that album. And that album was not for me, but I could listen to it and I could see why people like it. I could see why people like it. I remember listening to it thinking like, man, like this album is like a DJ's dream. You can just put this album on, and just let it go. Cause like every song has a really fun party atmosphere to it. So like you could just toss this joint on and just let it rock. Just let it rock. So like if I could definitely see why someone would say I think that's album of the year. And I mean, and you could talk about the impact of it and all that stuff. So if that album won one album of the year, I could like, you know what? I don't think it is, but I respect it. And I think that's kind of what you need in a committee. You need people who can talk about it like that. And maybe they do have that, which takes me to my next point. When you talk about transparency, right? I think that the night after the Grammys, or maybe a day or two afterwards, I think the people who've made the decision should be willing to stand on it and talk about it. So I'll tell you this here. If I was on the Grammy committee, right, last year, I would have voted for Taylor Swift Midnights as the album of the year. And I would have no problem the night after the Grammys coming on YouTube Live or some sort of live thing and say exactly that. I think Taylor Swift Midnights was the album of the year. What questions do you have? I would have no problem just sitting down and saying, what questions do you have about my decision? And I would have no problem like chopping it up with like regular people for an hour or two and we could talk about it. And at the end of the conversation, you might still disagree with me. You might still say I'm an idiot for saying that's the album of the year. I have no problem with that. But at least at the end of the conversation, maybe people would say, you know what? I disagree with homie, but at least now I can put a name to it. I can put a face to it. I can see someone actually talking about why I think this is album of the year, as opposed to what it is now, where it's like, all right, she got the trophy, album of the year, and that's the end of it. I think that rubs people the wrong way, and I think that just that thing there, just having someone that you can you can look at and say, okay, this guy said this. This is exactly why. I think that will bring the temperature down. It's not going to end it because music is subjective. People are going to disagree. But I think fun dialogue and disagreement is a good thing. I think that's great for music. So that's the big thing that I think the Grammys could do to take the temperature down a little bit. Just like have it so people understand what happened. You know, when Beck won Album of the Year over Beyonce, the people who pick Beck, have them sit down like, okay, I picked Beck's album. This is why. Let them break it down for you. You might still disagree. You're probably gonna disagree, but at least you'll be able to understand and see where they're coming from. I think that would be a good idea for the Grammys to do. Um, Now another thing that I think would take the temperature down falls on you. It falls on the consumer. In today's world, we have this thing called streaming. You can stream the music that wins that you disagree with. This is why I rock with the Grammys. The reason why is because a while once streaming became the thing, I made a point to listen to every single album that was nominated for Album of the Year. I listened to every single song for Song of the Year, every single song for Record of the Year. I listened to all of it. Okay. And then I can say, okay, I think this should have won because I listened to all of it. And what I like about it is the fact because I've decided to start doing that, I done ran into a whole lot of good music that I probably wouldn't have listened to otherwise. I did a review on Miley Cyrus's album. I never would listen to Miley Cyrus's album if it wasn't nominated, but it was nominated. I listened to it. I loved it. And I think that more people should do that. I remember watching The Breakfast Club last year, and I mean, like, I rock with them, but like, they were mad that SZA didn't win. But then when they were asked, did you listen to the other stuff? They said no. So how can you say that SZA should have won if you didn't listen to any of the other music nominated? In today's world, we can listen to all of it. There's no reason we should be ignorant to the rest of the music nominated, but just say that, oh, such and such should have won because that's all I listen to. Like, what are we doing, people? Like, we can listen to whatever we want. So I think that that's got to be that's the solution. The Grammys have things they need to do to fix it, but we, the consumer, also have things we should do to fix it. There's no reason we should not be able to do that. There's no reason, even if you don't want to listen to the whole album, even if you don't want to listen to the whole album, even if you're not a music nerd like me that's going to listen to the entire album, even if you don't want to do that, listen to a couple of tracks. I mean, Song of the Year, you can just listen to the songs. I mean, what we have like 7 nominees. You can't listen to 7 songs just to say, okay, I listened to all of them. Now I have an opinion on what's the best song. Like, we can't do that. Come on, guys. We can do that. We can do that as consumers. And I think if we do that, we'll be able to have conversations about music. We'll be able to watch and enjoy the Grammys for what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be fun. It brings all the best artists together. And it's a true celebration of this beautiful thing called music. Music is a beautiful thing. Music is subjective. We can debate it, but ultimately, man, we all love music, and that's what the Grammys is. The Grammys is a celebration of music. Let's treat it that way. Let's have fun with it. All right. That's all I got to say about it. Disagree, you can drop a comment. Agree, you drop a comment. Let's have dialogue about it, man. I love music, man. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it. You know, I'm gonna do another video once I listen to all the music because I always a lot of music to listen to. So once I've gone through all the albums, I'm gonna have a conversation. I'm probably gonna bring Kurt on there. Kurt might do it with me. I might bring the crew on here, and we're gonna talk about the Grammys. We're gonna talk about what's nominated, what should win, what do we think will win. We'll go through the hip hop categories. We're gonna have a good time with it, man. So yeah, man. Don't Let's stop the Grammy hate, man. Let's just enjoy it for what it is. Let's enjoy it for what it is. So that's all I got, man. It's your boy Reggie.